Okay, I'm still getting used to this whole like finding a spot and filming in it sort of thing. So if you're wondering why my jacket matches so well with this thing, this is a garbage can. So I'm matching with a garbage can. So I told you guys last week that my goal is not to tell you whether to abandon religious practice or not, but there are some warning signs that I saw in myself when I realized that I'm really just going through the motions of organized religion, and maybe it's time for me to rebel and embrace a different lifestyle for myself. By the way, some of you pointed out last week that going off the derech doesn't have to mean completely abandoning religion. It could also just mean abandoning part of it, like maybe the organized religious part and keeping the faith, or vice versa, or simply just choosing your own path within a religious framework. And I totally agree, there's a lot of different ways to do it. Off the derech literally means off the path, meaning the main path that was chosen for you. So if you think about it, doing anything even a little bit different is technically going off the derech. So thanks for pointing that out. Your relationship with religion is going to follow the rules of any relationship. So the question of whether you know the relationship is actually over is actually going to follow the rules of any breakup. You have to assess if the relationship is healthy for you, and you can't just stay in it just because of guilt or loyalty. Sorry, I'm a little congested. But here are some questions you need to ask yourself about your relationship with your religion before assessing whether you need to break up with it. First of all, is it stopping you from doing the things that you need to do? So I'm a very passionate person, and one thing I noticed very strongly in the years leading up to my going off the derech was that every time I had a dream or passion or idea that I wanted to accomplish in life, it somehow went at odds with my religion, and I couldn't do that thing. There were so many things that I dreamed about, and none of them seemed to fit with religion. So many things. So let's say I wanted to be a professional dancer. Frum girls aren't allowed to dance in public or in front of men, it's immodest. Plus you have to practice on Saturdays, violating Shabbat. You have to wear secular dance costumes, which is also immodest. You also have to go on tours and listen to secular music and hang out with secular people and eat whatever food they give you, which is probably not going to be kosher. So that's one problem career. What about a doctor? Unless I managed to get into med school that's located right next to a shul, I'd have to be away from a Jewish community during my med school training and not have kosher food. I'd have to fraternize with secular people. I'd have to work on Shabbat, wear pants, be on birth control, not be able to engage in the traditional religious mommy lifestyle that I'm supposed to. And when I'm done with med school, I'll be too old for any religious man to want to marry me, since most girls are getting married at 20 when I was thinking about this. So there goes that career. I also really wanted to be an EMT, by the way. That was so cool to me. Another thing I realized I wouldn't be able to do as a religious person without breaking a bunch of rules. Yeah, there are male EMTs as part of this Orthodox Jewish first responders nonprofit called XOXO, but as a woman, I don't think they'd even entertain the idea of me joining. Also, that's a volunteer service, so it wouldn't really be a career. I did end up becoming a lifeguard because enough religious girls were doing it that they were offering women's only lifeguarding classes in LA, and from there I actually managed to gather enough religious girls to convince UCLA to offer their first women's only lifeguarding instructor course. True story. If you're watching this video and you were one of the girls that were in that class, hello again. I felt so accomplished that I was able to do that as a religious girl. And it's funny, that's actually a thing that religious people will get excited about. Like, wow, you can be ultra-Orthodox and be a doctor. Or wow, you can be ultra-Orthodox and be a journalist. Or wow, you can be ultra-Orthodox and be an artist. Wow, isn't religion great? You can be religious and still manage to do some of the things that you want to do in life. For me, that wasn't enough. I only have one life to live, and it's hella short. If religion is not taking me to my goals and aspirations, if it's merely something I have to worry about interfering, and I get all excited when it doesn't interfere, it's not really a relationship worth investing in. That's for me. Second question to ask yourself before going off the derech. As a religious person, do you feel basically fulfilled in life? Is religion motivating you to get up in the mornings? Or is it making you feel apathetic? I know what the answer was for me, especially as I approached my 20s. I so deeply wanted to care about the stuff I was learning in school or at shul or in seminary, but the more I pushed myself to learn, the less I cared and the more apathetic I felt. Life is short. If you're having trouble finding meaning in your religion and you're starting to feel like you're a walking dead person, you've got to wake yourself up and try something different, even if it means going off the derech for a while. You are of no use to God as a depressed couch potato. Third question to ask yourself: are you having trouble forming actual real-life relationships with and connecting with people in your religious community? One thing you'll notice as you become disenchanted with a certain lifestyle and start questioning it in your mind is that you start to disconnect from the people around you that are still in that community, because you start feeling like maybe you don't fit in, you're different from them, and if they knew how you're feeling about your religion and faith, they might judge you. Personally, I'd encourage you to not keep your feelings bottled up. Talk to some people that you at least trust, and you'd be surprised at how understanding people really are, and they might actually feel the same way that you do. Also, keep in mind that they might have a knee-jerk reaction to convince you to stay religious anyway, even if it's not meant for you. Make sure that if they do a good job at convincing you to stay religious, that you actually believe in your heart that it's in your best interest, and that you're not just lying to yourself because you're afraid of what's on the other side. Fourth question: are you staying in it out of fear of punishment and not because of love? If you're staying in a relationship with someone only because you're afraid that they'll punish you for leaving them and there's no real love in it, some might describe that as a toxic relationship. Likewise, a relationship with religion, motivated mainly by fear and guilt, is a highly toxic relationship. Growing up, I remember the first thing I learned about people who go off the derech is that terrible things happen to them. Aside from the bad things that will happen to them in the world to come, their lives will be a total wreck when they leave the religious community, and everybody will talk about them, and their family members will be alienated from the community and maybe even have trouble finding marriage prospects. The fear of shame and hurting your family members is definitely a reason people stay in the religious community, but from a spiritual perspective, I'll tell you that is a terrible reason to stay religious. Again, my purpose is not to tell you to go off the derech, it's to help you be purposeful and live the life that you truly believe in. Personally, I feel very free without the chains of organized religion telling me what to do, how to think. I can explore the world freely and YOLO and travel and try different foods, love who I love, and be a totally authentic version of myself. To me, that's the greatest joy in life, but I also recognize that we all are all so different and have different needs. Also, there is a huge element of discipline, structure, and direction that religion provides that I really value, constantly am recreating in my personal life. Hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and see you guys next week.